too. And don't forget to put this in your confidential. This goes in your confidential packet. And then, like, okay, we'll do that later.
Same side.
One side was taking out way too much. Pressure went through one pressure was fine.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So we just had one, okay.
We'll be watching TV.
All right, ready?
I told him I would, you ever seen Kirby?
Good? On the dot?
Old
I mean, should I wait or?
TV.
All right. I'd like to ask all who are able to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Lakeview Public Schools Board of Education meeting here on November 19th at the Wheat Educational Campus. For the record, Mr. Dombrowski will not be here tonight due to a medical issue. We wish him the best. I'd like to call to attention the minutes of the regular meeting from October 15th.
Move for approval?
Support.
Motion for Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item C, public communication. Madam Secretary, do we have any public communication at this time?
Yes, we do. Can Brian Carruthers come to the table, please? Hi, Mr. Carruthers. How are you doing today? Thanks for coming. I normally read a paragraph. Basically, you have 3 minutes to talk. So, okay, thank you.
And go.
Good evening, everyone. I don't know if you remember, my name is Brian Carruthers, 1997 graduate of Lakeview High School. Back in March of 2023, I came before you with an idea to have a girls' high school hockey program, of which you agreed to. Back in December of 2023, I asked for funding to cover the girls' coaches for that team, which you agreed to. And I can probably give you an update on the status of our girls' high school hockey team. So at this time, we've had 14 skaters and 1 goalie. We've had 8 new players come out and try hockey for the very first time. Numerous players have been reaching out to our coaches to see just how to get involved. Can they try to skate? Can they join the team? Which has been refreshing to see new people involved in the sport. We've been able to provide players with skates, equipment, sticks, their own locker room at the St. Clair Shore Civic Arena. And also like to remind you that we're the only public school in Macomb County that has a girls hockey program. So again, here to thank all of you for your support for that. This season we've been accepted into the Michigan Girls High School Hockey League. At the last meeting, it was brought to our attention they're expecting the girls high school hockey to be voted on as a MHSA recognized sport. So hopefully we'll get the athletic director's support for that throughout the state. This season we've already begun competition. The girls won their very first hockey game last Sunday against Nova Northville Unified. They won the game 4-0. So very exciting. The girls get their first victory of the season. Tomorrow night we have a fundraiser. So the girls will be playing Regina at 6:30 p.m. at the St. Clair Shore Civic Arena. The boys will be playing De La Salle immediately following. It's going to be a charity game in which the attendees will be asked to provide both clothing and food for McWarmth Charity at the St. Margaret's of Scotland Church on 13 Mile Road. So in lieu of monetary donations, we're going to have food and clothing for attendees. I'd like to formally invite the board to participate. Obviously, this wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for your support. It's nice to see firsthand the impact you made on the players, the schools, and our community by supporting this program. So I did bring schedules for both the boys and girls team if you'd like for me to distribute them. But again, I just come before you to say thank you. Couldn't have done it without you, and appreciate your continued support of the program.
Thank you so much for coming forward.
We would all absolutely love to schedule.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much. Any other public communication at this time?
I do not have any in front of me.
Okay. Moving along. Item D, Board of Ed and Administration comments. Well, I'll do Mr. Dombrowski's regular happy Thanksgiving to everybody, being that this is the last meeting before Thanksgiving. Hopefully that's a good time to spend some time with family and friends and get a much-needed break. Yeah. Any other comments from?
I'd just like to piggyback Mr. Carruthers. I think this is amazing. I definitely think we should highlight again for all those people out there listening that we are the only public school in Macomb County, the only one that offers this for girls. You know, obviously, if you live in Macomb County, school of choice is there. We are the only ones with hockey, and we hope to be the only ones with many other things. And I know we have a curriculum issues, or not issues, but additions that we're going to talk about tonight, which are really exciting too. So just come out and check out Lakeview Schools, and all those people that already attend, please reach out to your people in Macomb County and let them know we are the best, and we're striving every day to keep that up there, and we want to be known as the best around. So.
I just want to say, was it at Ardmore for the Fall Festival lasted for around Halloween? It was a great time. Everyone did a great job. A lot of volunteers, and I always love that haunted house. They always do a really nice job. So.
Did it scare you?
They do a good job.
I'm scared.
All right.
Well, if you're scared, they give you a blue flashlight. They say it's got to be tame, so quiet.
It's
I
fantastic.
bet it wasn't tame in your
Yeah.
house. You were probably shaking with fear.
On behalf of the central staff and all of our staff, and, positive holiday wishes as we go into the season here. I know many holiday events. I won't jump on, our student report, but there's a lot of opportunities to be able to make donations, to volunteer. A lot of our groups do charitable work at this time. We do can collections and food collections and all kinds of things throughout the district. And I'm really proud of how the staff, parents, and kids all come together for those types of events. It's powerful, and it sends a message, and it's all part of what we believe in our strategic plan. We don't often have that many, but congrats to those retirees that are choosing the middle of the year, whatever that means. Bond work continues. The high school addition, new wing in the back courtyard is getting close to completion. We're talking about occupancy dates at this point, which is a few weeks away, but we may be in the position where we can use the classroom, the elevator, and the space on the first floor starting second semester. So that was, one of our targets, and we're hoping to see that come to fruition. Auditorium work is beginning to get scheduled and laid out in a calendar. Pool work, same thing. Probably start those spring break, so that we shut those facilities down for that period of time and try to get them all done. At least the pool work, if we can get it done by the summer and turn around and start school with it open again. Big work has to be done in coordinating and all those activities with those contractors. But it's going to round out some of the final work that we've got planned so far. The board knows we've got future needs that are going to be discussed in the next coming weeks and months. But at least the things we planned on in 2018-19 and with the bond and the voter support in November of 2019, the vast majority of the things we wanted to do got done, and the modifications we had in that plan were because of COVID and, changes to technology and one-to-one and different things. So we made a promise to the community and kept it. I'm confident to say that now, that we're getting close to the end of the work that we're going to do, and more to come. Playground's still coming too. Recent new technology, new safety things implemented to make the buildings even a little bit more safe and a little bit more secure for students and staff. So I think our administrators, particularly the building principals, have lived through this construction work for the last so many years at each site, having their own little unique problems that goes along with that. And then our design and construction team, and that includes a number of people at this table and some architects and Barton Mallow folks and whatnot. Finally, I want to remind families and staff, as the weather changes, yes, I hear the students who ask for the snow days, but that's a low priority. Safety around our campuses when we do have snow and sleet and rain and freezing rain and ice, we need to remember, get out on the road early, take it slow, get to school on time, and be safe. And cooperate with each other. Don't, use gestures in the window when you don't like what something happened around you in a car. We need to, work that out and be cooperative and cordial to each other when weather turns. And I'll leave it at that.
So I would also echo what Mrs. Taylor had said, that we're extremely proud of the number of offerings we've added, both in athletics and clubs. The amount of things that we have for our students, both in extracurricular as well as academic offerings, which you'll see some of those tonight, continues to grow and grow. And we feel that the more opportunities we have for our kids, more offerings, is better preparing them and having a richer experience while they're here with us in Lakeview. So we're proud of that, and we have jobs that are out there in all of our employee areas, various employee areas that are being posted throughout the year. So I encourage people to check out our website if they're looking for a position or know somebody who might be looking for a position to join us. You'll have the opportunity to meet a couple of our new folks who will be joining us here this evening. And then lastly, I want to say that staff continues to work very, very hard as we come into the holidays, and people are getting tired because this is our longest stretch of school, and people are working very hard, getting excited about holidays. We'd like to encourage families to continue to keep their eyes on the prize, which is getting kids to school, and attendance is extremely important even in these days as we lead up to the holiday break. So have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy your holidays.
Any other comments? All right, moving along. Item E, student representative report. Ms. McDade, hello.
Hello.
I'm sure there's a lot going on.
So first, I have updates from the Wheat Building. As Thanksgiving quickly approaches, the Wheat Building is focusing on learning how to be thankful. Many of their classrooms are doing Friendsgiving parties as they learn about how to be good friends to one another. They just wrapped up their center-wide fundraiser, where they met and exceeded their goal of $10,000. They want to say thank you to all the families who participated in supporting this event. The profits from this fundraiser should be about $4,500 and will go right back into the classroom/center materials and upgrades. This week, they are doing the second round of PBIS assemblies. These will focus on how to be safe at school as it reinforces the I am safe behavior expectation. The assemblies are a lot of fun, and this one might just include a special visit from the Husky Pup mascot. Now on to Princeton Elementary. Everything at Princeton is going great. They had their annual PTO Fall Fun Fest on November 2nd, and it was very well attended, and it ended up being a beautiful day. Report cards will be going home in the coming days. They're looking forward to hosting Perry's Emporium, their annual Santa shop/craft fair, on Friday, December 6th from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. They invite everyone to come and enjoy the event. All proceeds from the event will go to support Princeton's families in need for the holiday season. Princeton wishes everyone a happy and healthy holiday season. Ardmore Elementary, Ardmore Student Council is actively organizing a canned food drive to support families in need within our school community. The drive has been met with enthusiasm, showcasing the students' commitment to helping others. Ardmore students have been taking full advantage of the unseasonably warm November weather. Outdoor recess has been a joy for all students with the freedom to play without bulky coats slowing them down. Harmon Elementary. On November 11th, Harmon hosted an all-school assembly to honor veterans. Special guests included Detective Jackman, Lakeview's own school resource officer, and his brother Nick Jackman, who both served in the Air Force and the Air National Guard. Scholars showed their appreciation through pictures, cards, and posters celebrating the guest service. Harmon is hosting a canned food drive throughout November to benefit the local Kiwanis chapter. All donations will help provide Thanksgiving meals to local families in need. Harmon is currently running an IXL challenge throughout November. IXL is a digital learning program that allows scholars to practice grade-level questions in reading, math, science, and social studies, both at school and at home. As of Friday, November 15th, Harmon scholars have answered 67,643 questions correctly. This is 27,000 more than the monthly target. Greenwood Elementary. The new Bridges math curriculum has been a hit, as teachers and students alike enjoy its hands-on approach. This year's Harvest Fest was their biggest in years, with record attendance and staff participation. They also had successful parent-teacher conferences. They have launched an upper and lower buddy program, giving students daily opportunities during lunch to connect, build responsibility, and strengthen the school community. Jefferson Middle School. Quarter 2 is progressing very well at Jefferson. They hosted their annual Veterans Day breakfast, which was a huge success. School resource officer Dave Jackman and his grandmother were the keynote speakers at the breakfast. Mr. Bob Schneider, JMS technology teacher, and 5 of his students were selected to showcase their work at the Michigan Technology Showcase at the Capitol. The St. Clair Shore Centennial was at JMS last Friday to photograph and write an article about the students and their work and the showcase. JMS Patriots and staff are looking forward to break and wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Last, Lakeview High School. On October 22nd, the class of 2025 Powder Puff team secured another victory over Lakeshore High School. Other than beating the Shoreans for the 10th year straight, it proved to be an excellent fundraiser for the class. Nurse Mary from the MISD attended the staff development meeting to train the staff in various issues that students need assistance with. This includes seizure training, diabetes training, and asthma training. A big thank you to Nurse Mary for taking the time out of her day to visit LHS and train our staff. Congratulations to all of the LHS fall sports teams on their respective seasons. The class of 2025 will have their annual cap and gown assembly on November 21st, hosted by Jostens. This assembly gives valuable information to students about the cap and gown details, as well as other materials Jostens offers for the graduation season. Huskies with Heart is collecting non-perishable food items in hopes of creating gift baskets for families who are in need this holiday season. The LHS staff and students would like to wish all of the Lakeview community a happy Thanksgiving, and go Lions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lots going on, of course, as always. Moving along. Item F, teaching and learning presentation.
The team has developed some things to share with the board and community related to our academic and curricular activities over the last year or so. And we feel like we want to make this an annual event sometime in the late fall where we present to the board and open the door to some conversation and discussion about things you hear about throughout the year, but packaging it up in a nice, neat summary with some of the goals that come with it. So Laura Woods is our lead, and she's got it all together.
Yeah, we're ready. So as we get this queued up, you all have copies of it in front of you because some of the font is little. At the end, there will be time for questions, but if you see something and you want to ask a question as we go, just wave your hand and I can answer those. All right. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with a real quick overview of our state data from last spring. So this would be MSTEP in grades 3 through 8. We also have PSAT, which is in our middle school and early high school, and then our SAT data. There we go. So this gives us kind of some trend data for each of our grade levels for ELA M-STEP. You can see it starts with 2017, 2018, and then it goes from there, obviously, with the 2020 school year omitted since we didn't have testing that spring. So what you see is we've had a slight decrease occurring in our elementary ELA since before COVID. And this is the chart that shows students who score in that proficient and advanced level. So obviously that's where we want our kids to be. Grades 6 through 8 already began to see some increases last year, so we're starting to rebound. Obviously, COVID gave us a lot of challenges, and that's not a Lakeview problem. We've seen that across the country in our schools, but we're starting to see a rebound in some of those older grades. And this has really been a time over the last few years that actually started before COVID, before I got here, where we were really looking at adding and supplementing our reading instruction in the lower grades as the science of reading and all of the things that go with that have come along. So to dig in a little deeper, we know that more than half of our students are school of choice students, and so we always like to obviously look at our own achievement, but we also we have a lot of transient students who come in and out of our district, and so this is 5th and 8th grade data for ELA that compares us to the districts around us where we get most of our students from. Because we look very closely at not just where our students are, but how quickly how quickly we're able to move them once they get here. So even though we still obviously have work to do, we continue to be pretty pleased with the fact that when students come to us, we're able to start catching them up very quickly and bringing them along.
I think that a couple of weeks ago, the board had a snapshot of some of the audit result information that showed where student enrollment came by district. And if you think back to that document, you probably were highlighting, wow, there's a lot of East Point kids, there's a lot of Roseville, a lot of South Lake, a lot of Lake Shore. And so we use those as the connection back to, they arrive at us, whatever grade level, and many of them come in 6th and many of them come in 9th. And if they've experienced this performance K through 5 and arrive in 6th, there's usually a drop in the 6th grade compared to our 5th grade outcome, just because we add 60 or 70 kids from these other districts to the pool. The same is a little bit true in 9th grade. The good news is by the time they make it to 8th or they make it to 11th, they're mostly back on track. And that's a testament to the work our staff are doing every day on a daily basis with individual students. And as collaborating to make those efforts and make that change happen. We all prefer we have them in preschool and we keep them all the way through, because then they get the benefit of the exposure to what we're doing all the way through. And some of our people that are sitting at this table have some examples of their own kids who really took advantage of a lot of things we offer by the time you're walking out the door. And sometimes that's a tens of thousands of dollar difference for life with college dual enrollment opportunities that we have at the end. So the earlier we can get students from these places to walk in the door and enroll, the better for the family and the child.
So this is just the same chart showing students proficient and advanced in math. We know statewide math achievement is quite a bit lower. And there's been a great emphasis in improving literacy at the state level over the last several years with the Read by Grade 3 legislation and all of that. And we're just starting to see the state catching up with understanding the seriousness of making sure that our students are getting the early foundational math instruction that they need. So this shows us, again, kind of a similar, trajectory starting a little bit before COVID, where we started to see a little bit of dips. A positive is that last year, grades 3, 5, 6, and 7, we started to see that increase that we're looking for, where we're closing gaps. And I'll talk a little bit more later about why that is, but we have been very strategic with our math instruction, particularly at the elementary level the last few years with our math intervention. So it's good to see that we're already starting to see some of the data, even with more things being layered on to support students this year, which I'll talk about a little later. So that's that same comparison. Again, even though we still have work to do with our math instruction, we know that we're getting the students and we are getting them caught up to our Lakeview standards in comparison to maybe the districts that many of them are coming to us from with instructional gaps. So then for SAT data, we have been pretty consistent. This is 11th grade. The 11th grade SAT, which we know is important obviously for us, but it's very important for the students as well. This is a college acceptance test. We have continued to be really strong in the evidence-based reading and writing, so that's kind of the ELA side of the SAT. And we have been a little less successful in math, but we have lots of things going on to kind of combat that. If you look at our overall SAT, it has dipped down a little bit through the years too, but that's probably reflective because it's an average of the math and the evidence-based reading and writing. If you look at our SAT scores compared to the county, this is the evidence-based reading and writing where we have continued to be toward the top of the county for several years. If you look, Lakeview's in yellow, and the districts that we are over with are some of the more affluent districts, the north end of the county. Whereas the state average is in orange, MISD, so county average would be in pink. And again, those districts that we get a lot of students from, particularly, like Carl said, that influx in 9th grade, we are outscoring them left and right in evidence-based reading and writing. And this test is both a test of reading comprehension, but also the use of language, pulling from text, citing evidence. So those are college skills that we feel good that we're doing a good job preparing our students with. Yeah.
Can you remind me, I feel like we discussed previously that Lakeview has more special needs population than some of the peers in Macomb County. Is that true or not?
So we track that data in terms of like percentage of students, and I know I just looked at this. We are right at state average for that pretty consistently. I can't speak, do you know, Devin, to the districts around us?
Because we do host a center program here,
Okay.
that could be maybe where
Okay.
that came from.
It could be wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for math, again, even though we're not where we want to be, we are still, outperforming a lot of the districts down on our end of the county where we get a lot of our students from. We're not satisfied with this. Our high school staff hit the ground running immediately this year with looking at very specific ways to address that, even through SAT prep within their courses. Just daily practice to make sure that we're preparing the kids, not just for the skills gaps that we're trying to address, but also just being ready to take this very important test. And again, we know this test is very important to the students themselves, so we want to make sure that we're preparing them. If you look at our overall combined score, when you put those two pieces together, we're still just above state average and definitely on the top end of the county. But again, always room for improvement. We want to make sure that we're giving kids every possible opportunity for success here. So now our local data overview. Over the past 2 years, we have implemented, and I talked to you guys about a year ago about our district MTSS system, so our multi-tiered system of support. That comes from us testing all of our students 3 times a year as the state requires benchmark testing. And basically, I always explain it as casting a wide net. We look at every single kid so that nobody's slipping through the cracks, and students who are identified as having instructional gaps, we put them on a tier, it's called. So students who, depending on level of need additional support, we may say are either tier 2, meaning they need more support at the classroom instruction level, or tier 3, meaning they have foundational gaps and need some pretty serious intensive remediation. This is important now more than ever with COVID because we had so many kids who missed instruction, either because of the quarantines or because they were virtual for a while in other districts or all those sorts of things. So really trying to target what students' individual needs are and then provide those services in a systemic way. So we wanted to share a little bit of that data. This is our NWEA district data. This is a very big picture overview, but it's important to see, there's kind of 2 lines, and I know it's hard to see from afar. At the bottom, if you average all of our K-11 for last year, we were right at average based on NWEA norms for ELA. So we started the year at the 50th percentile, we ended at the 51st, our growth is at the 54th, so really kind of what NWEA would say is like the target norm for ELA. What's interesting, knowing that our math scores are not where we want them to be, is that we really, really grew last year. So no, we aren't at the proficiency targets that we want to be at, but our teachers are doing a great job of closing those gaps. We started the year last year at 46th percentile, so just slightly below the national norm, and we finished the year at the 60th percentile. And our growth during that time was in the 80th percentile. So again, that means we're doing better than average, better than the national norms, quite a bit better at getting kids to grow, which we know is how we're going to close those gaps. So this is our elementary benchmark data. We do very strategic assessments at the elementary level because we know that in addition to NWEA, and now this year we've layered in FastBridge at the lower level, we know that there are different tests at different points of the year that speak to where kids should be at foundationally. So our beginning of the year kindergarten assessment looks very different than our end of the year kindergarten assessment, for example. This is our end of the year tiered data, which takes into account those NWEA assessments, classroom assessments that we're doing consistently that look at phonemic awareness, that look at students' development in decoding, things like that for reading. So this is our end of the year benchmark data for elementary. I always like to put our ideal triangle there on the left. So in a system where everything is working as it should, 80% of our students should be considered tier 1, meaning they're going to get everything they need just from our normal classroom instruction. Another 15% in an ideal system are what we would consider tier 2, which means they need some targeted support to be successful at the classroom instruction level. These aren't kids who are several years behind, but they're kids who are going to need some extra help to just be brought along in what's going on in the classroom at the time. And then tier 3, we want to be at no more than 5% as the target of students who have foundational gaps and need extra help, really probably dating back to early in our instruction. They can be 1, 2, 3 years behind. And with COVID, we've seen much more of this at the elementary level with kids missing large amounts of school. So if you look at kind of those ideals and you look at where we ended the year for all of our grade levels, this is after we spent the year giving very targeted interventions to students who are behind. Most of our grade levels are pretty close. We're not quite where we want to be, but there are many, many districts that have what we call an upside-down triangle. They're completely flipped, where the majority of their kids are in that tier 3 or tier 2 level, and they have a much smaller amount of kids who are really where we need them to be. So in general, you know, we see some areas for improvement. We see that when you look at the tier 2 and 3 combined, at any given grade level, that's the percentage of kids combined who need extra support. So if you look at, let's say, let's look at third grade. This is end of the year third grade reading. You know, we've got about 35% of our kids who are tier 2 or tier 3. That means that over 1/3 of our students in third grade, we came into this year knowing they were going to need more than just the general classroom instruction to get them where they need to be. And this includes our students with IEPs, but this is also students who don't have disabilities but just need extra support, again, probably for missed instruction as a result of a lot of the attendance issues we've seen since COVID, things like that. Any questions so far? So this is math, and actually at the elementary level you see we're doing better in math overall. We believe a lot of this, especially last year, has to do with the fact that we started our phase 1 of the Bridges math implementation with Number Corner last year. So every student had that really important number sense piece that is highly supported by research. We also had about 20 classrooms last year who were piloting the full Bridges, which we then are implementing this year. So we are already seeing the early fruits of updated instructional materials that are just really good for engagement, but they're also very strategic in how we're teaching kids to conceptualize math concepts. So here's our secondary data. At the secondary level, this is just NWEA, but so that we can compare district-wide, I like to put it into a similar format. You know, our NWEA data at the secondary level doesn't look as good, but we also know that getting students to really buy into the value of doing their best on these tests gets a little bit more difficult at the secondary level. And so these scores aren't really in alignment with some of the gains that we saw in our state testing data last year through PSAT and SAT. Still thought it was worth sharing both the ELA and the math. And we have some grade levels that are doing quite well. So one thing that I wanted to make sure to share, we have spent a lot of time and energy the last few years responding to the increased social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our students, as well as mental health needs of our students. We have seen huge increases, not just in Lakeview, this is obviously across the board in schools. So we implemented a social emotional screening process last year. At the preschool and young fives level, we use the Brigance SEL screener, and then K through 9, we're using SABRS, which stands for Social, Academic, Emotional, Behavior Risk Screener. And this gives us an additional data point to help us make sure we're not missing students who need extra support, either with social emotional behaviors or with mental health. Again, if you keep in mind that 80-15-5, you can see that in our upper grades, we're in a real good spot. You can see that things are really tough in our preschool, young fives, and kindergarten area. And this is from this fall. One thing to keep in mind is things were really tough last year in kindergarten, and look how good our first grade is doing. It's right where we would want it to be. So we're providing a lot of interventions, a lot of support behaviorally in our kindergarten, young fives, and our preschool classrooms. We've added staff over the last few years. We added a full-time social worker to our preschool. That's really a huge benefit to those students. We have a lot of programming going on. But at the same time, you look at our current kindergarten, and about 1 in 3 students in our kindergarten classes right now are requiring additional support. So think about what that's doing to our systems, having to support that and making sure that kids are learning academics too, as we are very purposefully supporting behaviors. And we just say these are the COVID babies, right? Our current kindergartners were like a year old. Our current preschoolers, a lot of them were born in 2020. So what we're seeing is kids who didn't leave the house much, who didn't have a lot of social interaction, they weren't in restaurants, they weren't going to grocery stores, they weren't seeing text around them, they weren't having conversations. Maybe they spent a lot of time on devices because what else was anybody doing, right? So we're seeing a whole lot of reasons that we have had to really increase supports for behaviors so that our early learners are ready to start talking about math and reading. But the positive on that is what we're doing is working, because last year's kindergartners looked like this, and first grade we're doing much, much better. So we're seeing the fruits of some of those labors. And just as a, to help understand the SABRS assessment, in kindergarten through 5th grade, the teachers fill out the screener. In our 6th through 9th grade classes, the students fill out a questionnaire.
So you've seen at your board table approvals the new staff positions that were part of some of the interventions she's been referencing academically and behaviorally. Behavior specialist is a position that was a new one. Academic learning coaches, you see those positions come forward, 18 months ago. And those people are now fully engaged, trained up. They're doing the things we need them to be doing with small groups of students. And you're going to see pictures from me in the Friday notes that show you a classroom where these extra people are working with the 5-year-olds and the 6-year-olds and doing the one-on-one individual work with them to get them past the finish line, and to help them with their behavior. So the plan, you see the approval for hiring those positions, and now we're talking about the activity they're engaging in.
Absolutely, both at the classroom level and at the district level, as we are creating these systems, so that it's not always just reactive. We're trying to be very strategic in identifying kids who need supports and giving them those proactive supports so that we're not always just reacting to the big behaviors or to the big concerns. I just wanted to mention young fives, obviously that triangle is pretty close to upside down, but our Young Fives program is an intervention. It's a place that we that we recommend students who are either very young 5-year-olds or who are not ready for kindergarten. Often it's the social emotional side. So we would expect the numbers to be a little bit off in that grade level, and we keep those class sizes smaller, and we do concentrate support in there, making sure that we're getting those students ready for kindergarten success the next year. So the other data point that we wanted to show in terms of just the social emotional well-being of our students, you know, we brought to you about a year and a half ago a formal threat assessment process that we are in our second full year of implementation. And so I just wanted to share, because I think this also, like the last slide, speaks to how we are utilizing a lot of new staff to support students. We have had 59 school days as of today, and we've had 91 threat assessments so far. So we are averaging as a district 1.5 threat assessments per day. Most of those, and I'll get to the numbers in a minute, just stop at that screener. We know pretty quickly that it was said, you know, in a moment of haste or something, and it's found to be transient. However, every time a student makes a comment, makes a threat that they want to hurt themselves or someone else, we have that whole process that we presented to you that involves our mental health workers, our building administrators, really spending a lot of time with these kids. So we're spending a lot of resources supporting students. So far, of the 91 incidents we've had, about 48 of them have been with our general education students. 37 have been students with IEPs, and a lot of times these are students who struggle to regulate emotions, students who may have autism, different things like that. So we know that that can play into them thinking through the words they're saying, but we still take all of those statements very seriously and follow the process to make sure that we're taking care of these things. And 6 students with 504s. About 68 of them, so almost 2/3, just over 2/3, are elementary students. So we're spending a lot of time through our PBIS programming trying to teach students about the seriousness of their words and the types of things that we can and cannot say so that students feel safe in the classroom and in the buildings. We've had 18 with JMS students, which is definitely a decrease from last year when JMS was kind of our high flyer, although they did a lot of work in that building last year, really trying to, again, teach students that there are consequences for making those comments, even if it's in a moment of frustration. And then 5 of the situations have been at the high school. We also keep data on threats to self versus threats to others. Right now, we're at about 1/3 and 2/3, so 29 incidents are students who have expressed that they want to hurt themselves or that they've thought of hurting themselves. So we know that we are literally intervening and offering support to kids in crisis in real time, and we feel good about that, but we also know the need is great. We always follow up with families with mental health resources, getting help, helping families find the help they need. And then 62 incidents have been threats to others. A large group of those we have found to have been in our kindergarten classrooms, where I don't know if this is YouTube or what, but kids are being exposed to this language, and then in the moment, they make a comment about, I want to hurt somebody, I want to shoot somebody. So we're doing a lot of teaching, again, trying to help students understand how those things impact. So overall, 86 of them, so the vast majority, we don't get past the screener. Either we find out that it's a mental health concern and we work with the families to support the student if they want to hurt themselves, or we find it's a kindergartner, for example, who has made a comment that they didn't understand their words. We have done 5 full threat assessments where the team decided that they needed to dig further and make sure that there wasn't a legitimate threat. And of those 5, 3 of them have been found to be serious threats that we took very seriously and were concerned, whereas 2 others we found to be transient. So we think that's important data to show. You know, we have added social workers over the last couple of years. Like Carl said, we have our behavior mental health specialists, one at the elementary, one at the secondary level. We continue to look at the supports needed because we have a lot of students who are in crisis, and we want to make sure that we are really valuing the whole child, not just because that's super important, but because we know students in crisis aren't students who are successfully learning academics. All right, so you've seen all the data. Just really quickly, want to go through kind of the data response again. I'll go through kind of the academic side and the social, emotional, mental health side, and again, we kind of look at it through those tiers. So for Tier 1, for our academic programming, these are improvements and resources and programming that we have added to support every student. So this is universal, every student. For ELA at the elementary level, we are currently piloting a new curriculum called Bookworms. It is fully aligned to the science of reading. And so we have a pilot going on with one teacher from each grade level. All 4 buildings are represented, and we are looking very closely and hoping to, if things go well, to look at adopting this for next year. Our last curriculum is so outdated. In terms of the science of reading, it was an online curriculum. The website shut down over the summer. So we had to very quickly move to try to make sure that we've got good, new, updated curriculum. And so far, our teachers are really seeing the value of it. At the middle school level, as you know, we adopted a new ELA curriculum, brought that to you guys last year. Updated resources, a lot of embedded supports, a lot of digital resources. And so far, we're seeing really good results that it's giving teachers the opportunity to differentiate and support kids at their level. For math, elementary, like I mentioned earlier, we implemented Number Corner across the board last year is phase 1. This year we're implementing Bridges, which is the full classroom curriculum, and we're already seeing really positive things there. Bridges is a lot. It's a lot for teachers. It's a lot of planning, especially the first time around. It's pretty intense at first, and so we've been trying to be very thoughtful about offering ongoing coaching support, and we're giving them time, our teachers time, every month during one of their staff meetings to collaborate across the grade level and make sure they have the support they need as they are implementing a new curriculum. For middle and high school math, middle school, you also helped us with our adoption last year, new Desmos math curriculum. That's the one that's fully online. We are seeing increased engagement. Students are really into that form of learning. We're hearing wonderful things at JMS, and the teachers really like all the options for differentiating and supporting for not just their students with IEPs, but other kids, again, who just need extra support. We are also in our second full year of rethinking how we place students in their math track, starting in middle school, and then that funnels up to 8th grade. Really looking at data and making sure that we're placing kids on the right track based on where they're at with their math learning at that point. We have, as Carl mentioned, a lot of students who join us in 6th grade have a lot of math gaps, so really being thoughtful about making sure that we're getting them the math support and trajectory that they need in middle school so that by the time they get to high school, we've filled some gaps. We're exploring high school math curriculum options for a math pilot this year. It's time for us to look at their curriculum resources, and then as I mentioned earlier, they have been embedding a focused SAT math practice in all their math courses to make sure that students are practicing how that's going to look. So for Tier 2, I kind of combined ELA and math. We have more small group instruction going on in our elementary classrooms because if you've got a group of 4 or 5 kids with similar needs, you can do a lot more to bring those kids along than if you're just teaching whole group. We also have purchased the updated digital resource iXL, which actually we heard about from Ms. McDade regarding Harmon and the work they're doing there. But we're really trying to be thoughtful about using the classroom technology that we now have to better support kids at their level during small group instruction. It's very adaptive and customizable so that we can have kids in a highly engaging program, hopefully having their needs addressed. At JMS, we have added academic support classes for students at Tier 2 who need help, extra support with Tier 2 ELA and math needs. They have interventionist support, and they're really trying to fill gaps to help with core content success. And then Tier 3 for intensive support at the elementary. Over the last 2 years, we have added 8 interventionists who are doing small group pull-out intervention. These are for kids who are several years behind at times, are missing foundational skills. So they're meeting with those interventionists or math specialists 4 times a week. You approved last year our new instructional tool, FastBridge, which we're using for much better progress monitoring, so we know if these interventions are working and we know when it's time to add or change those interventions. And then we're also continuing to offer targeted before and after school tutoring as staffing allows, so that we have kids who are struggling, who are behind, who are getting triple dipped. They're getting the classroom instruction, they're getting that pull-out instruction, and then they're also being offered chances to come for tutoring before or after school as we try to get students caught up. Middle school, we're really excited. We added for Tier 3 a new math and reading intervention course, so that when we have students who are getting to our middle school who are several years behind, we're not just dumping them in core classes and hoping they catch up. We have new language and math lab courses. We had some of these offerings, but they were only for special education students in the past, and so we've really expanded to make sure that we're offering it to any student with gaps. And these courses are taken in addition to their English or math course, so they're still getting their grade level content, but we're very actively looking to fill those gaps. And we've bought new intervention tools for both of those, Read 180 and Success Maker, and both of those are a combination of small group instruction with their teachers, but also that customizable technology one-to-one that's targeting their individual needs. So now we jump over to behavior, social, emotional, and behavior. We have done so much to support these behaviors and these students' needs. So as of this March, all of our teachers, paraprofessionals, and admin will have received 2-day training in restorative practices. That's a Tier 1 practice that's supporting students at all levels. All 7 schools, so from our preschool all the way through the high school, have now implemented updated PBIS practices, which is how we teach, practice, and reward positive behaviors. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're using SABRS data, that's that social emotional screener, as well as SWIS data, which is where we track all of our behavior, so that we are able to identify students in a much more systematic way who need social, emotional, or behavioral support. So this is what we're doing for everybody. We're also just really trying to give teachers the support they need to know how to respond to the increased needs in their classrooms. So that means behavior de-escalation training, as well as making sure that we are applying universal behavior supports across the board. And we are offering behavior coaching sessions. Our 2 behavior mental health specialists are going into buildings and offering to come into classrooms and just give suggestions on how to support different behaviors. Pre-K and elementary, we are very proud. Our social worker and over at the preschool, as well as Peggy, who is our elementary behavior mental health specialist, have both gone to be trained, if I could say that word one more time, to be trauma-informed instructors. So they are now able to come back and certify our teaching staff as being certified in trauma-informed instruction. We know we have more students than ever before with trauma, and that's impacting classroom performance and behavior. So we have begun training our staff. Our preschool is up first. They will all be fully trauma-trained. And then we have started that with some shorter trainings for our elementary staff. And our new teacher staff got that this year as well. We're doing zones of regulation in our preschool and in many of our kindergarten and Y5 classes, so that our little learners know how to cope with their feelings, how to explain when they're upset. As you know, we've talked a little bit about this. We've implemented Second Step, which is our social emotional learning curriculum, K-5, and actually it's in the preschool as well. So at JMS, we will begin implementing Second Step with 6th grade in January, and then we will roll that up to 7th grade next year and 8th grade the following year. We have mindfulness and the brain lessons going on in all of our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms. And then at the high school, we have the Be Nice program. It's our 2nd year, focusing on mental health and suicide awareness. And this is a really cool partnership between staff and students who are trained to help run the Be Nice program. And then we also have those mental health mindfulness lessons going on in our 10th grade classes. So for targeted support, we're identifying students through our behavior MTSS process, and we are giving them small group interventions. So whether that's skills lessons for kids who need to learn how to manage feelings, informal behavior plans for students who are not being successful without extra help. We have check-in, check-out, silent mentoring, all kinds of different things that we are trying and implementing systematically to support kids. High school, we've also implemented silent mentoring, and the purpose of silent mentoring is to make sure that every student in the building has at least one adult that they feel a connection to, who they feel safe going to, who they feel is their person. And so we do some surveying to kind of figure out who does and does not, and then we very strategically are making sure that staff are connecting with those kids. And then for intensive support, we're working with My Best. That's a county resource where literally their therapists come to our buildings and work with students who maybe can't receive outside counseling due to family factors. We have been implementing a very consistent positive behavior support plan across buildings, and then also continuing to look for ways to support students identified through that behavioral MTSS process with more formalized behavior support. All right, that was a lot. So I asked each of our building leaders to provide me with maybe one or two areas that their building staff is kind of looking at a specific data point for improvement, and then to share some celebrations. So I'm not going to read all of these to you. I'll just kind of give you a quick overview. So starting with Ardmore, they have dug into some of their proficiency and advanced levels, and they're finding that they've got, in grades 3 through 5, students demonstrating proficient or advanced is in the 40 to 50% range, but they've got a whole nother chunk of 25 to 45% who are scoring partially proficient. That's just one level down. So they're really zooming in on those kids and what their needs are, trying to raise them up. They're also seeing significant potential to move students by focusing in very strategically. Areas to celebrate, they're seeing a lot of growth in their students who are receiving intervention, a lot of positive things to say about how teachers are responding to the increased behavior needs, because it is much more difficult to teach reading to 5-year-olds when you have 5-year-olds who are dysregulated in the classroom, for example. They've got a lot of really positive upgrades. Their special education team has gotten some new staff over the past year, and they're really excited and proud of the work that that team's doing. And then they've got their school-wide use of Class Dojo to increase communication and family engagement. Greenwood, they've been looking at cohort data and seeing that the one cohort that they looked at over 3 years, their number of students scoring where we want them to decreased. We know that's not what we're looking for, so they have zoomed in on that cohort and some of the teaching strategies and things going on to see how we can increase those scores. Again, excited about the digital newsletter updates. We're trying to continue to increase our family communication. They just had their PTO updated a teacher collaboration space, which has been huge for our teachers. We have a new sensory room at Greenwood for students to go and take breaks. Unified full school assemblies, building community, and also just looking very specifically at their 5th grade reading, where last year some really good gains were made. Harmon, they're focusing on improving their school-wide ELA proficiency from 30 to 37%, and they're going to do that, again, by zooming in on those partially proficient kids, the kids who are close but didn't quite make it. Likewise, they've got about 24 students who they're looking at targeting to raise their math proficiency overall. A lot of good data conversations going on there. Some areas to celebrate. There were some areas like our 3rd grade MSTEP ELA, 3rd grade MSTEP math, where we saw the best scores that we've seen in those grade levels in 5 years. So we know that that's not where we want to land, but that's big growth, and we're going to keep growing from there. Same thing with their 5th grade scores that were the best in 5 years. They have implemented the Harmon Hero program. We love this. It stands for Here Every Day, Ready to Learn and On Time. So it's an attendance incentive where they're getting kids excited about being at school on time every day, and they're rewarding students. They've already had over 120 students who have been celebrated. And another big win, a decrease of 30 behavior referrals if we compare September and October last year to this year. So all these systems we're talking about are helping to improve behaviors. Princeton looked at some of their Tier 1 students, and again, they're seeing decreases from year to year where we're hoping to see increases. So they are zooming in on some of those pieces. But areas to celebrate, huge decrease in Swiss behavior data referrals 50% since last year. So again, an improvement in behaviors. They have their new Watchdogs program that stands for Dads of Great Students, where you get male figures into your building supporting students, being on the playground. It's a national program, and they've implemented that this year. Students who are receiving those Tier 3 interventions, they're seeing really good gains. And they did note that their 5th grade cohort of students made very positive gains last year in ELA proficiency if you look at them from 3rd to 5th grade. So over time, we're bringing kids along. JMS is looking to increase, they're focusing in on those PSAT math scores to better prepare their students for success on the PSAT and SAT at the high school. And we've got lots of positives to celebrate there. All grade levels in ELA and math scored for NWEA in that upper right quadrant, which means they had both high achievement and high growth. That's where we want to be. In the month of October, they had the lowest number of major referrals for behavior that they have had in 10 years, which is huge. And they're crediting restorative practices in their new eHall Pass system for a lot of these behavioral successes. It's also worth noting that both the ELA and math departments got those new curricular tools this year. That's a big ask as they're digging in, and actually that impacts our special ed department as well. So a whole lot of the staff is learning new materials this year, and they're doing a great job. Our high school is focused on those PSAT and SAT math scores that we talked about earlier. So that's what they're zooming in on. They're excited about their common assessment development across departments. They're getting their policies more in line because we're looking at equity in our student experiences, making sure our grading policies and things are more equitable. We have increased special education course offerings this year, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. So we're excited about those opportunities for our special ed students. We are really digging in with data processes to make sure that we are addressing gaps. And they have tardy sweeps this year, reducing our attendance issues. And then finally, with their new PBIS, they've implemented monthly student shout-outs, and they're seeing some really positives from that. And finally, our preschool. Our fall Brigance data showed that 65% of students who came to us this year were below average in their physical development, and that looks at both fine and large motor. Again, these are COVID babies, so we are, assuming that maybe this is because they spent more time on screens, less time being physically active. So in order to combat that, they're increasing gym time. They're very purposefully looking at balance and coordination, throwing, catching, things like handwriting program that we've implemented there. Also, areas to celebrate. We're now doing benchmark assessments to look at growth in our preschool from beginning of the year to end of the year. We're focusing very heavily on those social, emotional, and behavioral needs to get those babies ready to be more successful in young fives or kindergarten. They've even started having PBIS assemblies. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen, getting tons of little preschoolers in a room for 8 minutes to get excited for an assembly, and they're only 8 minutes because that's all you can do when they're 3 years old. But very exciting. And then this is a point of pride for us. Our testing data is showing 2 years in a row that the students who are coming from our early childhood center are much more successful when they go into our kindergarten and young fives programs than students who have not had the experience of our preschool, which tells us that what we're doing over there is getting kids ready for success here. Last slide. So next steps after all that. We have a pilot that we are going to be moving forward with at our middle and high school with a department head structure so that we can be better organized in the work that we're doing during our departmental PLCs. So we're piloting that this year. We are going to continue to analyze all the data that we shared to make sure that we are focusing in on those areas of need. And one thing that we're always looking at is evaluating our current staffing. I've mentioned several times all the ways that those behavior people have been really, really crucial over the last couple years in helping us respond to increased needs. So things like our interventionists who are providing academic intervention with our math specialists, those behavior mental health people, social workers, paraprofessionals, we're constantly evaluating needs and making sure that we're responding to those needs. Any questions? I know I talked a long time, sorry.
You did a really, really nice job.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it here in the board. I know I speak for probably everybody over here. It's really nice to get a big overview like this and to see each school pick out, like where they want to work and
the things that they have, done, and we applaud them all for that. It's just amazing, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it, sincerely.
Everybody is working really hard. Our leaders, our teachers, our parapros, every single person in those buildings, they're working very, very hard to make sure that our kids are getting what they need. So that's it.
I think it's really positive to see that you're recognizing that issues do linger from COVID, whether it be the COVID babies, or the academic, sort of hurdles that students have because of what they missed during COVID. But so it's great that you're recognizing, but also explaining what it is that the district is doing to address those issues and how we're going to get back to pre-COVID levels and beyond. So
Absolutely.
appreciated hearing that, because I know that there's work being done. I just didn't know what it was, so it's
Yeah.
nice to hear it specifically.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks very much. Moving along. Item G, retiree recognition.
There we go. Technology is great when it works, right? All right. So this evening, during the 2023-24 school year, the following, that should be 20, it should not be, should be 24-25 school year. I apologize about that. Following staff members have processed their retirement. This evening is an opportunity to present them with a token of appreciation for the many years of service they have given to Lakeview Public Schools. Mr. Richard Nelson, our teacher at Lakeview High School, is not able to be here this evening, but we will be recognizing him privately off to the side. We will not let him go unnoticed. But Mr. Mark Zimmerman is here, and we'd like him to come forward while I say a few things about you, Mark, and you receive some congratulations. You can come right up here by Carl and Mr. Miners. So it is with great admiration and appreciation that we recognize Mr. Mark Zimmerman for his dedicated service to education as he retires after an impactful 34 years in the business. Beginning his teaching career in 1990 at Warren Community Schools and transitioning to Kearsley Community Schools in 1998. Mr. Zimmerman brought years of experience and passion for teaching to Lakeview Public Schools when he accepted a mathematics position with us on August 29, 2016. Over his decades of working in education, he not only has imparted his deep knowledge of mathematics to countless students, but also fostered a love of learning and a commitment to achieve academic excellence. His ability to reconnect with students and make complex concepts accessible has made him a beloved teacher and mentor throughout his career. Beyond his work in the classroom, Mr. Zimmerman contributed to the broader school community. He was an active member of interview committees, helping to shape the future of the school district by selecting talented and passionate educators. Mr. Zimmerman's influence extended beyond his own classroom, as he was respected by his colleagues and cherished by his students for his dedication and professionalism. His retirement marks the end of a remarkable career, but his impact on those he has taught and worked with will continue to resonate for many years to come. We wish Mr. Zimmerman all the best in his next chapter of his life, and thank you for your service here in Lakeview and in your other districts. Congratulations. You can ring the bell. Go ahead, ring it. Yay, all right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to say a lot, I'll just real quickly say, this is a great place to teach. Okay? Whether it's students, staff, administration, facilities, course offerings, all of it. I have the perspective of teaching other places, a lot of people don't have that. And I was going to come here just do 2 or 3 years, and here I am 8.5 years later. So.
Yes, yes, congratulations.
Thank you very much to
to Mr. Nelson and Mr. Zimmerman for your service to the district and your dedication and all your hard work. Best of luck to you in your retirement years. Moving along to general, item A, the Dopke Memorial Scholarship donation.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward a recommendation to accept a memorial scholarship donation from Lakeview High School alum Paul Dopke and his family. The Dopke Family Scholarship Fund in memory of Carol A. Dopke is to be used by the district to provide a deserving graduating Lakeview High School senior intending to pursue post-secondary studies at an accredited college, university, or trade school. The Dopke family's donation of $10,000 for the scholarship fund would be available beginning with the graduating class of 2025. Seniors will have the opportunity to complete the scholarship application and be considered for the award. An eligible senior will receive one-time non-renewable $2,000 scholarship. Mr. Paul Dopke, representing family, is also here tonight, and we recognize your donation.
Mr. Vice President, I would move that the Lakeview Board of Education accept this with gratitude from the Dopke Family Scholarship Fund in memory of Carol A. Dopke in the amount of $10,000 to begin offering scholarships for Lakeview High School graduates, class of 2025.
Support.
Motion from Mr. Bear, supported by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion?
I think what we were trying to say before was thank you, Gary, it's amazing.
You're welcome. If I could, I just, to add on to what Mr. Zimmerman said, I know that my success started here at Lakeview, and I could tell you some of the most impactful teachers that were part of my young life. In fact, one of them, my sixth grade teacher, Tom Barton, I still get a birthday card every year from him, exactly on my birthday.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I swear he calls the post office and says, are you running 2 days or 3 days? So I'm 53, and that started when I was in sixth grade. I still get it. So,
That's wonderful.
I just wanted to take a minute and say that, you know, I worked with Carl on this. We did kind of model it after the Ortman Scholarship, and it's our wish to have the money in the control of the school and initially start off with $10,000. Our family foundation would also be open to other things going forward, and this will be our first. We'll try it for 5 years, and then maybe this will open things to other needs that the school may have, and we'd be interested in looking at those as well. So I thank Carl for his time and working with myself and our attorney to make sure that this is all in order. And I look forward to the first recipient this spring, and just a matter of conversation. It's our hope to really try and help a student that maybe overcame some adversity or a challenge to their high school years, and not necessarily. It's great if they have a high grade point average, but we'd also welcome this to students of all walks, regardless of their grade point average, and just really want to try and help a kid that otherwise might not get a break. So.
It's very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Call for a vote.
Yeah. All those in favor of the motion signified by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving along to personnel. Item A, changes in personnel.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward the following changes in personnel since the last presentation to the Board of Education on October 15th, 2024. New hires, Stephen Conklin, Lakeview High School Secondary Interventionist, James Rector, Lakeview High School Science Teacher, Matthew Milazzo, Lakeview High School Math Teacher, Caitlin Payne, Lakeview Public Schools Co-op Orchestra Assistant, Matuz Masuj, Lakeview Public Schools Co-op Band Assistant, and Valeria Williams, Lakeview High School Language Arts Teacher. Resignations, Riley Weaver, Wheat Preschool Co-op, Melanie Bilbrey, Jefferson Middle School Teacher. Retirements, Brian Burnett, Lakeview High School Teacher. Secondary targeted academic tutors as listed. Elementary high dosage reading tutors as listed. Winter sports athletic co-coordinators, John Carr and Patrick Threet. Schedule B, returning coach and sponsors as listed. Schedule B, new coach sponsors for the 24-25 year. Keith Langle, Jefferson Middle School football, 7th and 8th grade assistant coach. Fred Collins, Lakeview High School basketball, boys 9th grade coach. Hayden Granger, Jefferson Middle School football, 7th and 8th grade assistant coach. Lakers Ice Hockey Tri-District, Nicholas Rajewski, St. Clair Shores Lakers Ice Hockey Varsity Coach for boys. Chad Hammer, St. Clair Shores Lakers Ice Hockey Assistant Coach for boys. Unified Girls Hockey Tri-District Team, Jenilyn Pangborn, St. Clair Shores Unified Girls Hockey Head Coach, and Morgan Hatcher, Assistant Coach.
Mr. Vice President, I move that the Board of Education approve the changes in personnel as presented.
Support.
Motion for approval from Mr. Bear, supported by Mr. Asha. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And do we have any new hires, guests here tonight?
We do. I'd like to start off with Matthew Milazzo. Matthew, if you wouldn't mind standing up so the board can just put a face with a name. We're thrilled to have Matthew joining us. He's coming to us with his master's in education from Indiana Wesleyan University. He also has his Bachelor of Arts in Secondary Education from University of Michigan. His endorsement is math and history. And his experience, he has worked a number of years in Royal Oak, quite a few years, and that's okay, over 20 years, 20 years in Royal Oak. We're thrilled to have him joining us. He has a wealth of knowledge and experiences teaching various courses as well as coaching experiences, curriculum leadership, and so we know that his contributions both in the classroom and outside of the classroom are going to be pretty great, and we're thrilled to have him. So welcome and congratulations. And Valeria Williams is here, so Valeria, if you wouldn't mind standing up. Valeria comes to us, she has her Bachelor's of Arts in English with a minor in math from Marygrove College, and she also has her Master's of Arts in Teaching with the focus being education from University of Michigan. Valeria is coming too with some varied experiences that we know are going to contribute well to our high school setting. She's worked both in the charter setting as well in public school setting at Ferndale, has had multiple opportunities in different places and different courses, and we know that she's going to round out that department really well, and we're thrilled to have her joining us. Both of our new candidates will be starting right after the holiday, right at the start with second semester. So I know that Mr. Capela is excited to have them here, and we're excited as well. So welcome, Valeria, and congratulations to you. And that's all we have here this evening.
Excellent. Thanks very much, and welcome to Lakeview Public Schools. Moving on to curriculum, item A, visual, performing, and applied arts courses.
The Michigan Merit Curriculum requirements mandated by the state require that all students achieve proficiency in at least one of the visual, performing, or applied arts discipline by graduation from high school. Students must acquire a minimum of 1 credit through the successful completion of an approved course in one of the above areas. The board has previously approved courses available to Lakeview students that can be taken to meet this requirement. Since that time, additions to our course offerings have been made, and administration is recommending that the district update our list of courses approved to fulfill the visual, performing, and applied arts graduation requirement. The new courses proposed are in red below.
Mr. Vice President, I recommend that the Board of Education approve the listed courses as identified courses to fulfill the Michigan Merit Curriculum visual, performing, and applied art graduation requirement.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item B, Michigan Merit Curriculum Math-related courses.
The Michigan Merit curriculum requirements mandated by the state require that all students take a math or math-related course in their fourth year of high school. It's the responsibility of local Board of Education to determine which courses will qualify as math-related courses for their school district. The board has previously approved courses available to Lakeview students that can be taken to meet this requirement. Since that time, revisions to our course offerings have been made, and administration is recommending that the district update our list of courses approved to fulfill the math-related course graduation requirement. The new courses provided for this area are listed below in red.
Mr. Vice President, I move that the Board of Education approve the listed courses as identified courses to fulfill the Michigan Merit Curriculum fourth year of mathematics graduation requirement.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. And item C, expanded course offerings for special education.
All right, me again. Administration is proposing the implementation of additional special education courses at Lakeview High School. The additional courses include adaptive, core replacement, and resource room courses. The adaptive courses will use a modified curriculum and supplemental resources to meet the needs of students on a certificate of completion track, which is an alternative to a diploma. These courses are designed for our students who are receiving special education services who have limited exposure to grade level content, which impacts their ability to take grade level courses at LHS towards graduation. The core replacement courses will use the general education grade level curriculum while providing an emphasis on power standards to meet the requirements of the Michigan Merit Curriculum Diploma. The design of the core classes allows for a small class size and are taught at a slower pace that will allow for pre-teaching, reteaching, and explicit instruction. The Michigan Merit Curriculum can be individualized through a personal curriculum, which may also be achieved through this core class option. The resource room courses will provide direct supplemental instruction and support for IEP goals, pre-teaching, reteaching lessons, and provide the ability for students to complete work with guidance to address specific student needs. The adoption of these course offerings allows for the district to provide appropriate curricular content and instruction to students receiving special education services. The adoption of these courses allows students at the high school level to be scheduled into the course that best fits their instructional needs. This will allow the IEP team to select from general education courses, co-taught courses, core replacement courses, or modified courses in the areas of English language arts, mathematics, science, or social studies when developing a student's schedule. In short, this is not a new curriculum, rather a restructuring of delivery of the curriculum through these course designs, which can fulfill the Michigan Merit Curriculum requirements and qualify students for a Lakeview Public Schools diploma or the certificate of completion. Mrs. DePero is here this evening to answer any questions you may have. The proposal is being brought forward this evening after gathering input from various stakeholder groups and piloting the structure at Lakeview High School with students demonstrating success within this approach.
Mr. Vice President, I move that the Board of Education approve the addition of modified courses and core grade level replacement courses within a resource room format in the areas of English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies for students receiving special education services.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Taylor, supported by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to other, request for closed session, student expulsion / long-term suspension recommendation, student number 2024-25 CJ.
Mr. Vice President, I move that the Board of Education approve the request for closed session to consider the student expulsion long-term suspension for student 2024-25 CJ.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Bear, supported by Ms. Martin. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Asha,
Yes.
Ms. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Muskelly,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Aye.
Ms. Martin, aye, and Mr. Miners?
Aye.
Okay.
And item B, request for closed session, student expulsion / long-term suspension recommendations, student number 2024-25 LS.
Mr. Vice President, I move that the Board of Education approve the request for closed session to consider a student expulsion long-term suspension for student 2024/25 LS.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Baer, supported by Ms. Martin. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Ms. Martin? Aye. Mr. Asha?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Miskelly?
Aye.
Mr. Miners?
Aye. And then for item C, we will go into open session and then recommend, okay. All right,
So it is, 8:52 now. Are we gonna take a short?
we'll take a
break?
short recess and reconvene at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So we will be in closed session at 9 o'clock, and we'll make sure that the camera is off. Any action taken in open session will not be streamed, and will be here in person.
Okay.
We're on a recess until 9 o'clock.